Hello, Bridge Builders! I'm here with some exciting news. The first volume of interviews is now available on Amazon.com. The link can be found at EatLunchandBoardGame.com. I promise that all proceeds from sales of this book will go right back into this podcast and channel. Whether that is new and better audio equipment for the podcast, or video equipment for the YouTube channel, or even more games to review, the money will not be wasted. Click over to Amazon and get your copy of Eat Lunch and Board Game, the first course today. And thank you for supporting the show. In this episode, I am joined by the founder of the Game Crafter, J.T. Smith. We talk about the Game Crafter and all the services that it provides, and some of the services that I've used it for, whether it's to buy parts to fix a game that is missing pieces, or buying parts to create a prototype for my game. We also discuss how old a game can be in board game years. And finally, we talk about crowd sales, what they are, and why you should pay attention to them on the Game Crafter website, as you could score a heck of a good deal on a game. Thanks for listening. Welcome back to Eat Lunch and Board Game. I'm your host, Adam Collins, and with me today is the owner, CEO, and everything important at the Game Crafter in Wisconsin, J.T. Smith. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me here.
No problem. I've used your service, the Game Crafter, for prototypes and all sorts of goodies, like cards and tokens and whatever else I need. I just used you, as we were just talking. We used you as the prototype maker for our latest game, Shark Hunt. And so very familiar with the Game Crafter. One of my friends also uses you pretty much exclusively.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
appreciate it.
Absolutely. What else do you do for the gaming community then?
Let's see. I created the Game Crafter. I've also created tabletop events, which a couple of years ago I sold to Board Game Geek. Tabletop events is basically a event management system to run conventions. And I created a thing called Component Studio, which is an easier way to design games. So you can basically hook up a spreadsheet to an image editing program. Essentially, that's what Component Studio is, and it'll generate cards and tokens and things like that for you. So you design one of them, and it designs the other 100. So it saves a lot of time using something like that. So those are a few of the kind of apps that I've built, and then I've also made a lot of board games. Probably the most famous one is called The Captain is Dead.
The Captain is Dead. Very familiar with The Captain is Dead. Plays a lot like Star Trek. I love how each of the expansions is kind of like a new episode.
Yeah. It was very much trying to take that Star Trek ethos of, episode or themes from Star Trek. So, yeah.
Yeah, I liked how it wasn't so much an expansion. Like, it didn't really add something to the game. It was like the next chapter.
Right, yeah.
So kind of like an RPG where you've like completed that level, you got your shit back online, but now you're caught, and now you got to escape. And I played 3 of them, but there's more than 3. I know.
There's 4. There's one little mini one that a lot of people have never played. But yeah, there's 3 of them that are fairly famous. Those 3 were published by AEG in addition to just putting them up on the Game Crafter. But then there's a 4th one that was never published by AEG because it was just too small for them. And then more recently, I'm actually running a crowd sale for a game I've been working on for 14 years called Merc that actually inspired the Game Crafter. Like it is the reason the Game Crafter exists. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's like so my game company, the Bearded Board Games, was started because I had a game idea, and we put out 2 games, and my game is not one of them. My game is the one that like got us going, and then we haven't put it out yet.
Yep. I know
Probably on
that
the
feeling.
probably the 2023 slate. So the game craft, for people who don't know, um, you can go on there, buy parts and pieces, discs, chits. You can squares, hexagons, dice, pawns of all kinds. But you can also create an entire game on there.
Right.
So yeah, we've used it to make cards for our game. We've used it to make. Well, I bought a bunch of cubes. Now it's funny. I would buy. I hate cubes. I think cubes are lazy in game design. But they're cheap. So
Yeah. They are cheap.
it's hard to argue with cheap. So I bought a bunch of cubes for my game. That hopefully, when we finally get to Kickstarter, whenever that's going to be, we will get a stretch goal to get the cubes out of my game. But I bought a lot of cubes, and then lately, a lot of people are posting their games up there. Some of them are, they've got various size games. I've purchased a couple card games. There's an interesting Carcassonne add-on that I keep forgetting to buy.
Yeah, we have a really big upgrade section for various games.
Yep. Yeah, that can get very expensive.
Actually, that's something I would suggest to you. You were just talking about a stretch goal to get rid of the cubes out of your game. It's probably more profitable and more interesting to your customers if it was an add-on rather than a stretch goal. So you'd make more money out of it because you'd be selling the add-on as well. And then only the people that wanted it would get it. So I don't know. You're probably not looking for advice, but
always looking for advice.
Oh, all right. Well, there you go. There's 1 cent worth of advice.
There we go. All right, podcast over. We're done. So JT, how'd you get into gaming?
I grew up gaming. My household is, plays a lot of card games and kind of the old fashioned, Monopoly, Stratego, that sort of stuff, games, Risk, of course. But in high school, I met a guy who introduced me to role-playing games, and we started off with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the role-playing game.
Was not aware there was a Ninja Turtles role-playing game.
Yeah, this was back when TMNT was like a comic book. It wasn't a TV series or anything yet, and so it was really dark and edgy, and like there was blood and all the like it was an adult thing, not the thing that people know of today for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And it was part of the Palladium books, like Riffs and that sort of stuff. So, it was just one expansion basically into this huge universe of games. And so that followed me into college. And then in college, somebody introduced me to modern board games. We started playing things like Illuminati from Steve Jackson Games. And I was like, wow, I didn't know board games could be like this, because I had only ever played board games, like the ones you play with your family as a kid.
Sure. There's always that one game that when you play it and you realize that there's more going on now in board games than roll and move and roll and writes.
Right. Yeah.
That it's like, what? And then, and then I think what's more impressive to me is that there has been games that were not that, for all my listeners, are probably getting tired of hearing me talk about it, but Acquire is a 60-year-old game.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do. There's no dice.
Mm-hmm.
There's no rolling. There's no moving. There's no writing stuff down and choosing where to put your 6.
Yeah. I had no idea. Like, it was probably 15 years ago that I finally learned about Acquire, and I was blown away that the whole Avalon Hill series of games existed since the 70s. And I'm like, where the hell were these when I was a kid?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Where was this? Like growing up, even when you went to toy stores, we had a couple good toy stores in my hometown. And I remember going down, it was just terrible IP crap games next to terrible IP game next to terrible IP game, and then all your Hasbro, Milton Bradley, and Parker Brothers. Mm-hmm. It was, where was all these awesome games that have been around for 50 years? Where were they 25, 30 years ago when I was trying to talk my friends into playing another game of Monopoly.
Yeah. I don't know. I wish I had learned about it earlier, but still, I'm happy that I know about it now. So
Absolutely. I'm glad that I know about it. I'm glad I've got 2 kids. They know all about it. I'm sitting in what's kind of our makeshift game room right now. I've got games piled upon games, and
I see you have one of my favorites actually up on your shelf there. I see The Crew.
Oh yes, The Crew. What a mind-bending game that is.
Mm-hmm.
The strategy is something else. Like, it's such a great game to be packed into such a small box.
Yeah. I wish I could come up with a game that good in that small of a box. It's a life goal for me, honestly.
I was just listening to a podcast with the guy that one of the creators of Star Realms, and he was talking about that. Like, it's just a deck of cards.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's a $15 deck of cards, and I'm like, but it's so good.
Yeah, it is. It's incredible.
Oh my goodness. So if I traveled all the way up to Wisconsin, which I don't know how far that is from here.
It's about 5-6 hours, I think.
Say 6
like
hours.
Yeah.
Anyway, if I made the 6-hour drive, or it'd probably be a drive, let's be honest. Up into Wisconsin, what game is currently out on your table? What game are you playing right now?
What's right on my table right now is actually a prototype for a game I'm working on called Stargate SG2. So it's based on the Stargate TV series franchise, actually. And I've been chatting up a publisher that has the rights for it. And so if I can make a good enough game, I might actually be able to publish a real Stargate game, which would be kind of a holy grail kind of thing. Stargate's my favorite, sci-fi series, and so that would just, in fact, I'm wearing a Stargate shirt right there. So yeah, I'm just pumped about this opportunity. And a couple of weekends ago, I went down to Indianapolis. A friend of mine is having his birthday, and he brought out a pirate game called Merchants and Marauders, and we loved it in concept, but there were just so many things we didn't like about it. So he's like, we should make the ultimate pirate game. So I'm also kind of working on that. So that's also sitting on my table right now too.
That's kind of an older game, isn't it? The Merchants and Marauders.
I have no idea when it came out. It was the first time I had ever played it was, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm thinking that was an older game. No, 2010. I was thinking something like the 80s or 90s, but no, that's 2010. Well, I guess in board game years, that's old now, right?
Yeah, it's 12 years old. That's pretty old.
That's so yesterday. Mm-hmm. Not everything can be Klaus Teuber's classic game, The Settlers of, how do you say it?
Catan?
There you go. All right.
Is there another way to say it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The wrong ways.
All right. Okay.
I've stuck by, well, a lot of people say Catan. And
I have heard people say that.
Yeah.
They're clearly wrong.
Yeah, obviously. And to prove it, I interviewed Pete Finland, the CEO of Catan Studio, and he says Catan. So as far as I'm concerned, if the CEO of Catan Studio says Catan, then that's the that's the end all be all.
That's pretty definitive right there.
It's hard to argue with the studio itself.
Yeah.
So in your day job, I guess at the Game Crafter, do you play a lot of games at lunch and with your coworkers and stuff?
The answer is no. Sorry to say.
That's a shame.
So, what I do at the Game Crafter is primarily build the new stuff that, new features in the software, new products, that sort of thing. And thus I do it alone. So I work at home most of the time, because when I'm at the factory, I'm usually disrupting things and, that's not good for productivity for everybody. So yeah, I work at home most days, and therefore I just work through lunch most of the time and don't play games. So,
well, that's a shame to be surrounded by all those games and all those game pieces, and then to not play.
Oh, that's not to say I don't play. I just don't play at lunch.
Okay,
so,
all right. Whew.
Yeah, I've got weekly meetup groups for gaming. I've got monthly meetup groups for game design. So yeah, I'm still getting in plenty of gaming. It's just I don't game at lunch because there's no one around to game with, except my wife, and sadly, she does not play board games.
Yeah, my wife doesn't play a lot either. That's why I have kids. I had to make my own opponents, so
Nice.
My-
That's the best way to make AI.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and now I've got my 3-year-old. I'm waiting on her to get a little bit older. She does love to roll dice, so we're getting there. I feel like I'm gonna be dragging her out of the casinos. Stop rolling dice. Stop rolling dice. So yeah, I mean, yeah, my wife's not a big gamer, but she'll play the occasional game with the son and I, and we have a lot of fun with it. So
awesome.
You take it where you can get it, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Are you going to be down at Geekway?
I am not. I've only been to Geekaway once, like 5 years ago, I think it was. I go to, I don't know, at least 15 cons a year, and they rotate. Like I kind of rotate through them. The only ones that I reliably go to are Gen Con and a couple of different Protospiels in the area. I don't know if you're familiar with Protospiel.
Oh man, I was totally set to go to like 3 of them because I do live in St. Louis. There's like 3 or 4 within like a 5-hour drive.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
And I was all set to go to 3 of them in 2020, and then
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm going to be at Protospiel Indianapolis in 2 weeks, so that should be only within 5 hours of you, I think, something like that,
yeah.
Right?
Is that in 2 weeks? I was thinking that one was in September.
No, Indianapolis is in May, and then there's one in Michigan in July, and then there's one in, in Chicago, which would be pretty close to you.
Yeah.
It's actually not in Chicago. It's kind of out in the burbs a bit. But it's called Protospiel Chicago, and that one's in September.
That's the one in September. Okay.
Yeah.
I got friends. I grew up in Indianapolis. I got friends. I lived in Chicago for a while. I just got those 2 backwards. Okay. So the Chicago one, I'll probably see you at then. Because I'm planning on being, good. I'm planning on being there, barring COVID again.
Yeah. And then in December, I run Protospiel Madison, which is the largest of the Protospiels. So you should definitely, come to Protospiel. It's like the fine wine of Protospiel.
It's the largest.
Yeah.
Protospiel Madison. When is that this year?
That's December 1st through the 4th this year.
Okay. All right. I'll see if I can get up there. Madison. Yeah, that's got to probably be a 6-7 hour drive. How far is that off the Indiana border? Oh no, wait, that's off the Illinois border.
No, yeah, I was going to say from Madison to Indianapolis is just under 5 hours.
I'm going to edit out my bad geography there.
And from Madison to downtown Chicago is roughly 2.5 to 3 hours.
About 2 hours, because I made the drive one time. Okay, so yeah, maybe I'll try to get up there for Protospiel Madison, Wisconsin.
Yeah. I'll buy you some cheese curds.
The cheese castle.
Yes.
Yeah, we drove up there into Milwaukee for a Brewers game when it was a great game. The Cardinals were in town, and Zach Greinke was pitching for the Brewers. So one of my wife's favorite baseball players. So we drove up into Milwaukee to watch Greinke pitch against the Cardinals, and we're wearing all of our Cardinals gear and cheering on the opposing, cheering on the Brewers pitcher, which had to look weird to anybody in the area, but those people in the right place. But yeah, so maybe I'll try to get up there for that.
Awesome.
I've never been to one. Like I said, I was stoked and set to go to the one in Indianapolis, Chicago. And then there was one.
There was one in Kansas City, which I think would not be too far from you, right?
No, it's another 4. It's just 4 hours straight on I-70. One of the most boring drives.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They had one in 2019, and then they were going to have one in 2020, and I think it died after that.
Yeah, so. I haven't seen anything on it. There was another one in somewhere in Ohio.
Oh, I didn't even know about that one.
I think there was one in Ohio is what I was looking at. I don't know. Anywho, I'll try to.
There was a new one in Ohio just this year, I think.
I want to say it was in Dayton.
Cleveland?
Was it Cleveland?
I was thinking it was Cleveland.
It was Cleveland. Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah.
And that's like a 9-hour drive from here.
Is it? Okay. Yeah, I had a conflict. I was thinking about going down to that this year, and I'm trying to remember. Oh, I know what it was. I was gone to 4 conventions in a row, 4 weekends in a row. I was gone, and theirs was the next one, and I was just like, I can't do another one. So, yeah.
I'm all going out. I can't do another one.
So, yeah, yeah.
No, I get it. I totally understand. Like that's probably I probably will miss the one in Indianapolis because I'll hit Geekway, which is next week, and then
Okay.
won't be able to go back to back.
Yeah.
So,
Well, too bad. I'll see you in Chicago then.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there.
Right.
I think it's actually the weekend of my birthday. So,
well, great birthday present.
Yeah. Right, turned 40, be at a proto spiel. What more could you ask for?
Exactly.
Anyway, so if a game has colors, do you have a color that you gravitate towards?
Hell yeah, I do. Doesn't everybody? Nah, everybody.
I've had one guy be like, I'm like,
really? All right, so I'm going to give you the array actually because so black is the number one color. But if they don't have black, then I will go for orange, and if they don't have orange, I'll go for purple. And then I'll go for green after that. And the main reason is like I actually like black and orange, but the main reason I go for purple and green is because I know lots of other people that like purple and green, so I'm just trying to screw with them.
Yeah, getting their heads right out of the gate.
Yep.
Like it was Gabe Barrett. When I had him on this show, he was talking about how he would pick his kids' favorite colors, and they'd play a game before the game to get the color.
Yeah.
Well, I was like, that's genius, man. Mm-hmm. Getting your kid's head right out of the gate. Oh, you want red? No, I want red.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Black. Well, black tends to be in most games nowadays.
Yeah, I wish. It's just not around enough.
Orange is not around enough. I'd play orange if orange was more prevalent.
There's very few games that have orange in it. So.
Which is weird because it's a base color in Catan.
Yeah, actually, I got to show you a cool thing. Let me see if I can reach it quick. So I'm putting out, this is the blank, so the parts are getting punched out of this, but I got it upside down there. So there's a game coming out from AEG called the Guild of Merchants. The Guild of something, I'm thinking of the wrong name here. It's the Guild of something Merchants. Anyway, it's coming out in June. It's a great game. I've played it a couple times now, and but the problem is, it only has 4 colors in it, and none of them are colors that I like.
Yeah.
so I've got a whole series of these that I'm putting out in different colors. So there will be like purple and green and orange and whatnot, just so that it can have some reasonable damn colors in that game. The Guild of Merchant Explorers. That's the word I was missing. Explorers. The Guild of Merchant Explorers. Anyway, so I'm going to put that up for sale on the Game Crafter as an upgrade. I got permission from them so that, there's no rights issues or anything.
There you go.
And and that way people can have their damn color. Come on.
That's actually a really good idea. I see that a lot on Etsy. You see a lot of people sell like the Catan wooden pieces of various colors. Right. And I've always thought, like getting a purple set. But I'm like, but I have like every expansion and scenario and variant, but they only usually offer like the base game pieces and sometimes the boats for seafarers, but never the city walls and the knights and all the stuff you need for all the expansions. So I just stick with the 6 colors that they've got. But that's a good idea though, to put them up on there to sell as a upgrade or add-on or whatever they want to call it. So a go-to 60-minute game. You're playing 1 hour over a lunch hour. What are you pulling off the shelf?
Probably Nations, the dice game.
I am not familiar with that one at all.
So Nations is like the original Nations game is like this huge civilization building kind of game. It takes like 3 or 4 hours to play it. But Nations, the dice game, is like a simplified version of it in dice form, and I actually like it better than the big game, which is unusual because I usually like the bigger one better. But in this case, I like the dice version better, and it plays in about 45 minutes. So It's really good for that kind of time frame.
No,
And I can teach it in 60 minutes. Teach it and play it in 60 minutes.
Oh, I thought you meant you could teach it in 60 minutes and then play it in 45.
Sorry. No, I can teach it and play it in less than 60 minutes. So it's great even if I'm playing with people that don't know the game.
No, that's interesting. I that sounds awesome because, like, you know, I run the game group at my lunch hour at my office, and I like games that take about 40 minutes and have that short intro.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because some games they only take an hour to play, but there's no way I could teach somebody how to play Catan and then play Catan in an hour.
Right. Well, can you even play Catan in an hour?
I can.
Really?
I'll wipe the table with people in an hour.
Wow.
Or I'll get so mad I'll just flip the table.
I was going to say, I don't think I've played a game of Catan, at least like a 4-player game of Catan. I don't think I've played a 4-player game of Catan that's lasted less than 2. So.
Oh, man. No. I mean, the base game, yeah, you can play it in an hour. The key that we found is giving everybody their own set of dice. You're not chasing dice. You're not passing them around.
That's smart, first of all. But secondly, I just realized you're talking about the base game. I don't know when the last time I played the base game is. I usually play Knights and Cities.
Oh, yes.
That's the best version as far as I'm concerned.
Yes. And if you can do it, put that in there with Seafarers. Boom. Have the 4 islands, Cities and Knights, 2-hour game. I will not ever get bored playing that game. That is the best version of Catan there is. But yeah, it's just a good solid base game. It's about a 45, 50-minute game.
Okay.
But you know, give everybody a set of dice. I mean, they're cheap. I mean, dice are cheap. And so everybody has their own set. So you're not chasing them. You're not passing them around. And you can get it knocked out in an hour. We used to play all the time at the office.
Cool.
And then if you really want to speed it up, throw something in there like fish so everybody can have an extra resource as a crutch. Or throw in the oil springs. You ever play that one?
Mm-mm.
Oh, that one's fun because so the desert produces oil.
Yeah.
And then you can use oil to do different things. So every time you use oil, you're depleting the resource. And after so many, you have a catastrophic event. And you roll a die. You roll the dice, and whatever number comes up, if it's not 7, it's like coastal flooding. And anything built on the coast is destroyed. But if you roll a number, then you take that chit off the board, and that no longer produces.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds brutal.
It is. And the best part about it is it speeds the game up.
Yeah. Cool.
So that's a fun one. That's like a $5 add-on off the Catan shop. I'm not kidding. It's cheap. I would definitely, look into that one. How about a 30-minute, a lunch half-hour game?
I actually already mentioned it, The Crew. I love The Crew. And you can play that in 5 minutes, and you could play it. So in a half hour, you could play 4 or 5 rounds of it.
Yeah.
So.
Could you try to work your way through through the different, what do they call them, scenarios or something?
Yeah. Yep.
Have you played the new one? I haven't played the new one yet.
No, it's always out of stock. I'm always trying to get it, and it's out of stock. So, but
first world problems.
Yeah. But I plan to at some point because I do love it. But yeah, I would say The Crew is definitely got to be my 30-minute go-to.
No,
so.
It's a good one. There's a little learning curve to the way you have to play the cards and the different positionings, and this is the only one I have, and there's a lot that you. Like I said, a little bit of a learning curve to get all of that minutia down. But after that, you can.
I mean, if you know how to play a trick-taking game, you've already learned 70% of the rules. So
I grew up on euchre, man.
Right. Yeah. So you're already there, and then you just got to learn the communication stuff, and you're done. So yeah. Anyway, that's that'd be the 30-minute game.
That's a great game. I was really impressed with it. I really was. It's one of those ones that you read about and you're like, can it really be that good? And
I learned about it on Board Game Arena during the pandemic. I played a little bit on there, and so I immediately bought a copy. I was like, this is great. So.
I learned about it on a YouTube channel, and then I came across another YouTube channel that I watched, and then I'm like, okay, I mean, can it be that good? And then
it turns out it can.
And the short answer is yes. Yes, it can. No, it's a good game. It's shockingly deep for such a simple deck of cards.
Like I said, lifelong goal to build a game that simple and that small of a box. So,
well, there's a lot of good 18 card games out there, like Button Shy has, but I've never played a game like the Crew. It's so fun.
I've never played a micro game that I've liked. Now I only have one Button Shy game, and I don't even remember what it is right off the top of my head, but I haven't played a micro game like Love Letter or any of those. I don't really like them. I think the smallest game I've played that I really liked is probably The Game, if you're familiar with that, or The Mind, if you've heard. They're both, I think, from the same designer.
I've played The Mind. I've not played The Game.
The Game is a similar kind of thing, but instead of reading each other's minds, you've got a deck of 100 cards, and you're trying to play the deck down to 0, but they have to be in order, the entire deck. So, and there's some rules for, reducing the pile if you kind of go overboard. So like if you're playing on the one pile, you play a 1, a 12, a 14, a 17, whatever. And then somebody plays 34 and you're like, how am I going to fill that hole? Cause you just skipped so many cards. But there are 4 decks. So you can play, there's 2 ones piles, 2 hundreds piles. So the ones always go up, the hundreds always go down. And then if you're if you play a card that's exactly 10 different from the card that is on the pile currently. So if, let's say we're going up we're on the ones pile. So if there's a 34 there, I can bring it down by playing a 24 on it. So it's allowing me to bring the stack back down. And the whole idea is you play with 2 to 5 or 2 to 6 people. And the whole idea is to run out of the 100 cards before, and you have to play 2 cards every turn. That was the other thing. Yeah. Run out of the 100 cards before you can't play anymore legally. And it's surprising how tight it gets. So, I mean, it's 100 cards, so it's not nearly a micro deck, but it's probably the smallest game I've played that I've liked. So,
no, I mean that's in the spirit, right?
Yeah.
I haven't played that one. Like I said, I played The Mind. That one's just frustrating.
Yeah, I've actually beaten The Mind a couple of times, and it's good. It's so hard, but it's so.
Oh
good.
yeah. It's you're like staring at each other like.
Everybody's constipated.
Yeah. Somebody walks by like, there's something wrong with that table of people over there. They're all squinting and grunting at each other. Whatever they ate, I don't want it.
Yeah.
Oh man. How about a hidden gem game? A game that you love that you don't think enough people know about. Doesn't get the respect that it deserves.
Holy cow. There are so many. I'm sorry, I'm looking off camera to my game cabinet over here. All right, here's one that nobody has ever heard of, probably, called Farlight. I don't even know who designed it or who published it. I bought it on a whim somewhere. I don't remember. I didn't know anything about it. And it's a game about building a space station. Everybody's trying to build space stations. But the mechanic in it for building that stuff out and interacting with the other players, it's unique. And honestly, I don't even want to describe it. Like I think people should seek it out and play it. But it's a game for 2 to 4 players. You're building a space station, and there's a negotiation aspect. I'll just say that there's a negotiation aspect to get the pieces that you need to play the game or to build out your space station. And it is a great little game. And I don't know why it doesn't get more praise, but like I said, I had never even heard of it before I bought it.
So is it a cooperative or competitive? I'm trying to build my space station. You're building your space station?
Yeah, it's fully competitive. Everybody's building their own space stations. Yeah. And yeah, it's cool. It's cool. So
I'm intrigued.
Yeah. If you can, like I said, I've never seen it anywhere else before either. But I'm sure you could find it if you went out on Amazon or your local game store. Probably could order it for you. I'm guessing they won't carry it, but they could probably order it for you. Anyway, I'm sure you can get it somewhere. I think, like I said, I can't even remember where I got it, but it's good. It's good.
That's awesome. No, I'll have to look for that one. It says 2017. I've never even seen this game before.
See?
No.
Did I pull out a hidden gem for you?
See, there you go. Well, I always joke like with my wife and stuff, like these are the games that when people mention, these are the ones I look out. I seek out and try to find these hidden gems, these weird games that people bring up. I mean, I've got shelves and shelves. How about your shelf of shame? You have a lot of games sitting around you haven't played?
I have a box of shame. They don't go on the shelf unless they've been played. So they're over here. There's a box of, it's not as big as most people that I know, actually. I've got probably, I don't know, 12, 15 games in there. So I know a lot of people that have like hundreds of games they've purchased that they have not played.
I conveniently, consistently sit at 50.
Oh, really?
Yeah, okay. I'll play I'll go my son and I will play it we'll take a weekend and we'll blow through 4 or 5 games.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, yeah, I'm at 45, and the next thing I know, I'm at 50 again. And I'm like, man.
Yep.
I was making such headway.
I do that too. So my core group of gamers, there's 5 of us, and we do a weekend for each of us every year that we call, mine is JT Day. So we get together. It's my birthday or whatever. So I pick all the games that we're going to play on that weekend, and on Ryan Day he picks all of his, and so on. And so I always pick games that are in my box of shame, so that I'm burning through them on that, and we burn through quite a lot of them. And allows me to replenish. There's a little bit more room in that box of shame once again.
You gotta create the room in the box of shame.
So I'll get out the occasional one here or there on a game night, but I really burn through them on JT Day. So, and JT Day is actually a whole weekend, so it shouldn't be called JT Day, but whatever.
Hey, but it sounds better than JT Weekend. Just doesn't roll off the tongue as easily as JT Day.
Yeah,
that's awesome. No, that's good. I like that idea. The box of shame. Maybe that's what I should do is put all the games I haven't played onto its own shelf.
Right. Yeah.
And if there's no more room on the shelf, I can't buy any more games.
Yep. That's how I do it. It keeps it measured that way, because otherwise it's just too easy for it to pile up.
Yeah, but any of my friends that know me listening to this episode are going to be like, yeah, that's not going to happen.
No self-restraint whatsoever?
I have zero.
Okay.
I have no self-restraint.
Very good.
Well played.
Yes.
That's not my forte, is not self-restraint. I can tell you that.
Okay.
So, Kickstarter. Are you a creator, a backer, both?
I have done both, although not for a long time. Let's see. Well, I mean, obviously, The Captain is Dead was on Kickstarter. It was a TGC bundle along with a bunch of other games, Scarborough Fair and Turbulence. Anyway, I did a bunch of Kickstarters back in the day, but I don't think I've run one since probably, 2015, 2017, something in that range. I think I did 11 of them total, something like that. Anyway, backing sometimes, again, it's most of the time I try not to buy games unless I know I'm going to get to play them, because we were just talking about self-restraint, right? So I try not to fill my box of shame. And Kickstarter, the problem is it's too easy to keep track, or to lose track of what you've got coming. And so you can build up this giant box of shame that the box of shame would be overflowing. And so I generally don't, although I did back one last year called Castlescape. It still hasn't shown up yet. I assume it'll show up sometime this year, but with all the shipping woes and everything, I'm sure there's problems.
No shipping woes.
But anyway, Castlescape, I'm trying to remember, Josh Horsley, I think, is the guy that designed that one. There might have been other designers as well. Anyway, but that was, so last year or the year before, whenever in the last couple of years is I backed that one, but otherwise I haven't backed anything on Kickstarter in quite a while. So it's just, like I said, it's hard to keep the box of shame from overflowing if you're constantly backing stuff.
You just gotta get a separate box.
So,
No, I love it when I get the email like, here's a tracking number.
for what?
And it'll just say like some from Fulman Agency, like from QM Logistics. What? I've got like 30 games. What,
right? Yeah.
How am I supposed to know? And like you said, the shipping woes, because I know you got hit. You got hit pretty bad at the end of the year too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because our prototypes went. They took about 3 months to get, and I think you had some box issues, wasn't it? You couldn't get medium stout boxes.
There was, well, our box suppliers are constantly running out of materials, and they're not able to actually produce boxes fast enough for us. So we've continued to have problems with that for like the last 12 months, basically. Mm-hmm. We're getting them, but every once in a while it causes a backlog because we just don't have whatever box size we need to make games. And that's been rough. So, we've been hit with that on lots of fronts too. Actually, we just ordered more card stock, making cards with card stock. We order that, we get it custom made in Germany, and, comes over in giant shipping containers, whatever. But the price went up 40% in this last order. And it's almost entirely due to shipping. So, yeah.
Dang. Yeah. So let's talk about the Game Crafter some more, right? So you have contests that people can compete in, and that are sponsored by different people. And so I was in contact with you. I am going to sponsor a game contest. And
let me break in for just a second there.
No.
So I know we've discussed that you are thinking about sponsoring a contest. However, do not say anything about the contest further than that, because we don't want to give anybody a head start. So don't talk about your contest. Is what I'm getting at.
No. I was going to ask you, like,
all right,
what does that what does that entail? What kind of, so for my to be named at a later date contest, what kind of guidelines or stipulations can be put on it?
So we have a general set of rules of kind of like how the process flows. The main thing is you can't have, like, a lot of people hit me up with crazy requests, like, I want to have 42 winners in 42 different categories, or I want to have, I don't know, whatever kind of crazy thing it is. The deal is there's only one winner to any given contest. If you want to provide prizes to runners up, or however you want to do it, you're welcome to add that. But the logistics of that are entirely on you, not on the contest system or the Game Crafter. So, because we've had people that'll give like first, second, third, fourth runner up prizes, right? And that's cool. You can do that if you want. But that's not how the system works. So the system works like this. Everybody submits their games. They do it through the game editor in the Game Crafter. So you upload your game to the Game Crafter just like you were going to publish it, except it doesn't have to be published for the purposes of the contest.
Sure.
So you enter it into the contest, and then the community at large judges the mass of games that come in, because there's, sometimes there's hundreds of games, and that's a lot for for a single judge to like have to look through, right? So we pare it down by having a community voting process where they go through the shop pages, they read the rules and they look at the ads that people create for their games, that sort of thing. So they can kind of give it a first impressions kind of judgment. They're not actually playing the game. They're just looking at the games from there. And so that narrows it down to semifinalists of 20, which is a more manageable number. And from there, the judge, that would be you in this case, would narrow down the list of semifinalists to quarterfinalists, which are going to be the top 3 to 7 games, usually something in that range. And they do that the same way the voting process did. They're looking at the shop pages, watching videos, reading the rules, that sort of thing. But they're still not playing the games yet at this point. Those top 7 or 3 or however many you pick to be in the finals, those games get printed, shipped to the judge, and then they are played. And we pay for all that part. And so then you as the judge are playing those top 3 to 7 games, and you decide from those what it is that you want to be the winner. And you're going to do that through a rubric. You're going to create a rubric in advance of here's how we're going to score the semifinals, and here's how we're going to score the finals and determine a winner. And we publish that rubric to the contest and to our blog at the end with all the scores, so that the game designers that are involved in those contests get feedback from the judge.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And so just anybody listening, I take bribes.
Nice. It'll be the first giant controversy we've had. All of a sudden there's a scandal. Oh my God.
There'll be an HBO documentary series and everything on. No, I mean, that sounds awesome. I'm totally stoked to do it. Actually, a friend of mine who, like I said, does a lot. He also told me that something I didn't know, that you guys are getting into the pledge manager and shipping of the games if they're printed through you.
We don't get into the well, okay. He might be talking about crowd sales.
So I'm working right now. We're planning on we have an 18 card game. We're planning on using the Game Crafter and your 18 card hook box to create to create the game, and then run it on Kickstarter, and then just have you ship out all the games.
Yeah. So, okay, let me break it down.
Fulfillment.
Yeah,
that's the word.
Yep. So let me break it down. There's two different ways people generally use the Game Crafter for that sort of thing. So the one is to use BOF, or bulk order fulfillment.
Yep.
And what that is you upload a spreadsheet of the addresses and the games that you want to go out to various people. We make them, we ship them, we handle all the customer service and shipping insurance and all the crazy stuff. You pay none of that, or you don't have to deal with any of that. You're just basically uploading the spreadsheet, and you'll pay the full amount of whatever the shipping costs are and all that kind of stuff. But we will have given you a quote in advance of, what that is, because you can upload a list of addresses before anything even happens. We have fake addresses, so you can see like what's the shipping price to Australia or whatever.
Zone 1, Zone 2, Zone 3, Australia. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So that's bulk order fulfillment. And that's where we literally take over after a Kickstarter or something like that and do the fulfillment. We don't do the pledge management at all. You would still be on the hook for dealing with that. The other thing we have is something called crowd sales, which I mentioned earlier because I'm going to do that for my game Merc in 2 weeks here, or a week. Oh my God, it's only a week away. All right. Anyway, we're
at this moment, JT's head has just exploded.
Yeah. So I still have so much to do. Anyway, so how that works is you upload a game to our system, like you would normally do to make a prototype or to design a BOF or whatever, and we have a button in there called Crowd Sale. You push it, and it creates a crowdfunding campaign right on the Game Crafter's website. And so it works a little differently than like a Kickstarter. Instead of stretch goals, what you have is it lowers the price for every 10 people that back the game. So, like let's say your game is $30. It starts out at 30, then it goes down, to 28 or whatever, $1 or $2 each time 10 people back the game. So you can get, like 50% off. And everybody gets the lowest price regardless of when they back the game, because we don't bill anybody until the end of the campaign. So we find out how many people are backing it and give the lowest price possible. And that's what a crowd sale does. And the other thing is there's no pledge management, because you pick the game at the time that you're purchasing it, whatever you want to buy. Like you can put add-ons and stuff in there just like you do in Kickstarter. But it's all prepped in advance so that when the customer goes in there, they're literally picking what they want to purchase. And manufacturing begins right after the crowd sale is over. So generally speaking, unless we've got a huge backlog in our queue, generally speaking, manufacturing will happen within a month or two of when the crowd sale is done. So people will already have their games 2 or 3 months later, not 6 months, 9 months, a year later.
I like the idea of that. That's a great idea. Like I said, we have an 18 card game and they're already pretty. So I could set the price of the 18 card game, or how would that work on my end
how it works on your end is you set whatever the retail price is going to be. Like if you're just selling it one at a time, right? But then you also set the price that you want to earn per copy during the crowd sale. So let's say you want to earn $2 per copy. I don't know. You'd pick a number, but let's say you wanted to earn $2 per copy during the crowd sale. So then basically we find out what the manufacturing cost is going to be at the level that, you get pledges, and then add $2 per copy to it, and that's the price that people get. So like if the cost gets down to, let's say it's going to cost $14 to make it, and you get, with 100 backers or whatever, then they would get charged $16 because it's $14 to make it plus $2 for you. And so they get charged $16 and plus shipping, of course. And then that's it. That's how it works. So if you sold 100 copies, you get $200 because you chose $2 times 100 copies. So that's how it worked.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I will have to discuss that with my business partner. That is a really cool idea for crowd sales. I like it.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing there is too, it can't fail like a Kickstarter can. So it's a great way to build an audience. Even if you only get 10 backers, at least those 10 people that want that game are going to get that game. Right.
So that was my next question, is on that front, how does the Game Crafter do any advertising on it? Like on your front page, on your Kickstarter or Facebook or anything like that?
Yep. It goes out. There's a message that goes out to Facebook to at the beginning and end of the campaign. There's a message that goes out on our Tumblr blog at the beginning and end of the campaign. There's a message that goes out to Twitter on both of those as well. Plus, there is an ad that appears on the front page of our site throughout the entire campaign. Now, it is rotated with any other crowd sales that are going on, so randomly. So if there are 5 crowd sales, then you're sharing that ad space with 5 others. I was going to ask,
do you have a lot of these going at the same time?
Generally speaking, it's like 3 to 5 going at any given time. The most we've ever had going at once was 12. But that's really rare that happens. So anyway, it's just right now, I think there's 3 going on. Let me go look. If you go to the Game Crafter and click on crowd sales in the top menu, you'll get to the page. So there's 4 going on right now, and two on deck. So there's another one opening on May 9th. So that's, what is that, 4 days from now? So
4 days as of the recording, but it'll be live by the time this gets posted.
Sure. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Oh no, you're fine. I'm hoping to get this up before Merc goes live for you.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah, you said I got a week?
Yeah, it goes May 16th. So that's what is that? That's 11 days from recording time.
Oh man, I got 11 days. I got that.
Okay, it's further away than I thought it was. Man, I was freaking out there for a second.
That's the sound of JT's head coming back together.
Yeah. I got a lot of work to do yet on that. So,
I like it. No, that's pretty sweet. I didn't know how that worked, so that's really cool. I like that. Crowd sales, awesome. Yeah. I like it. I'll have to talk about it with my buddy because like I said, we had the 18 card game. We really like it. It's going to probably be the next new game that we put out. Shark Hunt didn't make it right on its last journey. We're going to do some more development on it.
That's fair.
We'll be needing to buy some more stuff.
Appreciate it.
I think I know a place I can get it.
Yeah, I know a guy. Yeah. So
no, I think we're just going to take back. We're going to do some more development on it and put it back out. I really believe in the game. I really do. I think it's a great game. I mean, I have a lot of fun playing it with my daughter, with my son. I get a lot of good feedback when I take it to the different shows and different. I take it to farmers markets. I've had a blast going to farmers markets and stuff, and had a lot of luck showing it off. Just I like I said before we started recording, I think we just missed the marketing on it, and we'll have to try it again.
Well, I mean, you can always try it on crowd sales as well. So that's another way to go. But yeah, I mean, any crowdfunding platform, you got to bring the crowd, right? That's the important thing. Like some people will come naturally from the platform once you have done something well, but they're like the platform, whether it's Kickstarter or crowd sales at the Game Crafter, isn't going to be your primary source of buyers. It's going to be the crowd that you bring. And so, and that's a hard thing. Like I mean, you've experienced it firsthand, but it's really hard to get people excited because there's so much noise out there. So
there is, and it's interesting because it used to not be. I mean, Kickstarter's changed a lot in the last 10 years, where you used to be able to just take a game idea Kickstarter. Now you've got CMON out there, like crashing the party. Like you guys don't need this. This isn't where you need to be. But I didn't realize you had on the Game Crafter such a huge amount of upgrades and upgrade kits. That's awesome. So I encourage anybody if you've got a game that you're like me and you hate cubes, like there's the pandemic virus tokens. You can get rid of those stupid cubes. The Lords of Waterdeep, like it's like got to be the biggest amount of cubes I hate I love Lords of Waterdeep, but man, I hate those cubes with a passion. I feel like I could spend a lot of money on just this page.
Well, I hope you do.
I'm sure you do.
No, there's lots of great upgrades. I mean, so one of my favorite old school games is called Agricola, and some people mispronounce that one as well as I don't know, Agricola. Yeah. Anyway.
Have a nice cold can of Agricola.
That's right. Anyway, we have a normal upgrade kit, what you'd expect to pay for a normal one made out of wood, but we have this one that's made out of like the crazy resin pieces. Oh, it's like $100, but I totally bought it because it's so good. It's so good because I didn't want to use the damn cubes, like you said. It's my version of Agricola came with like 11 different colors of cubes for all the different little things. So
cubes, if they weren't so cheap.
Yeah, they are cheap. I will grant you that the cubes are definitely cheap, but that is their one quality.
Oh yeah, they're cheap. The problem is they're small. They get lost. They don't bring anything to the game. They drive me nuts. Yeah. I think one of the first ones I got rid of were the energy cubes at the King of Tokyo, and I got the lightning bolts.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. The next one's to go, Champions of Midgard. Got rid of those stupid cubes. Now I have meat. I have it looks like a turkey leg and a log instead of red and brown cubes.
Yep.
Gone.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Man, get rid of them. Upgrade kits. Plus, I think it always just kind of gives your game, your version, just a little bit better table presence, a little bit more. You're showing the game a little bit more love, and I do. I love those games. King of Tokyo will always hold a special place in my heart, as that my son learned it when he was 3. Promptly just stomped me, and he hasn't let up since. So. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, upgrade kits are great. I love them because they give your game, it just gives them a little bit more bling, a little bit more some presence. I think it's just really the word I like to use. It just gives it more presence on the table.
Yeah.
JT, I'd like to thank you for being on my show today. If anybody want to reach out to you, how best can they do that?
If you want to find me personally, I'm Plain Black Guy on Twitter. PlainBlackGuy. But if you want to find the Game Crafter, then it would be the Game Crafter, all one word, all lowercase, on every platform: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. or thegamecrafter.com. So
thegamecrafter.com. Go spend some money. I know I will be spending more money here shortly. As I said, we got to buy new stuff for Shark Hunt. I'm going to probably buy some upgrades. I keep putting off buying those Carcassonne flags, but I think I might just have to pull the trigger on it. So, you know. And as usual, if you guys want to reach out to me, it is eatlunchandboardgame at gmail.com, eatlunchandboardgame.com, Facebook/groups/eatlunchandboardgame. And remember, board games build bridges.
Indeed they do.
Stay in tune with all things sports around Indiana and the nation with the Crash Course Podcast. Each week, we tackle the big storylines from the world of the Colts, Pacers, and the Indiana college scene, while also keeping a pulse on the nation. We record live weekly at twitch.tv/3C Media and can be found on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever podcasts can be heard, you can catch the Crash Course Podcast.
When you're gaming, why not be comfy? Go over to supportplayer.org. Click on the cards, pieces, and dice to get some merch. These t-shirts are some of the most comfortable I have ever worn. That's supportplayer.org, and there's a link on eatlunchandboardgame.com.